Hi guys, welcome back to Red Flag Radio F1 YouTube channel. We are here for the final preview before the summer break as we are heading into a track that has been described as Monaco without the walls, the Hungaroring. After two intense practice sessions, we have got some idea of who's fast, who's struggling and who might surprise us this weekend. But the biggest headline that broke before FP1 is this, that Max Verstappen is staying with Red Bull for 2026, which we covered in our earlier video. So if you haven't seen that already, go check it out. It's fun discussion, you will love it. But tonight our focus is only on one thing. What did we learn from these FP2 and FP1 sessions? Let's dive straight into starting with McLaren as always. They are the fastest team, man. How do you see their performance? And I think there was that one close moment that we have to cover, man.
Yeah, see, I think now I'm already starting to get bored of the McLaren being point one of discussion because it's, I mean, fine, we know they're fast, we get it. There is not a lot to break down there, and thank God we didn't make this channel during the Lewis Mercedes or Max Red Bull dominance era because we would have been bored for 6 years. But yeah, I think there is no doubt in the fact that the McLarens do look the fastest. The thing is though that generally speaking, Red Bull has a better hot lap performance in quali and we see Max eking out an advantage, but I still feel that if this really is the feeling of Monaco without the walls because the track is that skinny, maybe I feel like the McLaren will do well in quali as well because they do have better downforce in corners and they are going with the highest drag setup I believe this weekend, so it should help them eke out a good quali performance as well. And I mean, it was, for a moment it was scary with that moment at the end of FP2 when Lando locked up and almost took out himself and Oscar. Thank God they're getting this out of the way in free practice sessions and not during the actual race, although that would be entertaining in its own way, but not a lot to say honestly. They looked the quickest. I think they were 1 and 2 in both practice sessions, so
Yeah, man, absolutely. They are smashing it. No matter which track we go, whether it's Spa, whether it's Hungaroring, I think their car is perfectly suited, man. So good stuff there. Probably they should focus on 2026 like how we discussed, but I think that was the only moment I can think of. It's amazing, and I think they will be there obviously in quality as well as race. So good stuff for them. And if there's any driver or any team who can cause some headache to them, I think that's Charles Leclerc for Ferrari, because they look decent, man, not gonna lie. And even if we say that this is Monaco without the walls, they were good in Monaco. So I think if there's any potential of any threat, I think probably Leclerc is the only driver who can create that threat, right?
yeah. And Lewis was also, I think, around P5 or P6 in the second practice session at least. He also looked comfortable, although the thing is that with Ferrari you never know. I mean, they might look completely dominant in the practice sessions and the quali, but then in the on the race day they might just throw it all away with a horrible strategy. So let's see what happens about Ferrari. But yeah, I think this weekend we'll get to that part later. But I think, at least in my mind, so far I see Leclerc pulling out one of the podium stops on during the race day. I think he could be the third guy on the podium this weekend at least.
Yeah, he was, I think, P3 for both practice sessions. And to be honest, we have to give some credit to Ferrari, I guess, because they are doing really well with strategy as well. I think we saw that in Spa with Hamilton, and it's getting better, to be honest. And Hamilton will do well here because historically he has done really well. He got the most wins, he got the most pole positions, and he is one of the best drivers on this track. So probably this could be that track where he can be close to Leclerc.
Yeah, but I think the problem is that the Astons are also looking fast, and 2021 shows us that even a slightly competitive car under Alonso's command could see a 7-time world champion struggling to overtake forever. So if Aston really does have that performance on this track, maybe Lewis doesn't get his P3 or P4 on a proper race day after all, because then Alonso will just make him his bitch for 20 laps straight.
Yeah, man, but I just don't want to jump my gun straight away, because even in Austria we said that Aston Martin is looking good and they could be the dark horses, but we know what happened. But in all honesty, they did look really well. I mean, Alonso didn't take part in FP1. He had some muscle injury, I think, post Spa, so he was not medically cleared. But in FP2, he was allowed to drive, and even Felipe Dragovic did really well in FP1. So I think there's that positive vibe that probably they wanted to take part here simply because car is looking better. So even Stroll was decent in both practice sessions. I think he was in top 10 and he was P4 in FP2. So there's that potential, and probably they can be that surprising team who performs really well, because let's be honest, in Spa they were horrible. They were the only team who didn't get any points.
Yeah. Anyway, I think I don't want to curse this or jinx this anymore. If they do end up doing well, I'm for it. So let's move on to Mercedes, because Mercedes looked strictly average, honestly, and makes sense. They're the fourth team we're talking about, so that does fall under the category of average. But yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know what their pace was like. It felt it was fine, but not comfortable. That's all I could understand from the practice sessions, at least. That they could be fast because there is that one long straight. But other than that, they were not looking particularly comfortable, is the thing.
Yeah, to be honest, I will give some credit to Antonelli because he looked better. He was in top 10 in both practice sessions, something we didn't see in Spas. So he was struggling, and we know his streak is not that good. He got only one podium and no points in last 7 races. So he desperately needs a good weekend. But he's looking better and sharper. And if we talk about George Russell, I think in a weird way he's in a league of his own where he can't go forward and he can't go backward. He's in his own space. He can't do much. Is that the place where you want to be? Probably not. You want to be closer to maybe McLaren's or even Ferrari in this race weekend. So maybe there's some potential to lock, and if the temperatures are lower, which usually is the case here, probably they can do better here. And if there's that rain, which is also predicted, whether we will race, that is a different story. But if rain happens, probably they will be there with McLaren's as well.
Man, if the rain comes, FIA, if you're gonna be waving those 200,000 red flags, just put our logo on the red flags. Just at
Yeah,
least
man.
something good will come out of you being an absolute pussy when it rains. But anyway, moving on to Racing Bulls. Hajar looked very tasty. Hajar looked very spicy. I think this is a weekend where he may come back and score one of the top 10 positions like he had done consistently during the first quarter of the season. So it's good to see him getting his elbows out as well and getting ferocious on with the throttle pedal. I think he should be doing well. The car clearly does have the pace. Maybe Lawson needs to work out his setup a little bit better so that he can also eke out that performance. But yeah, Racing Bulls definitely in the conversation for top 10.
Absolutely, man. I think Haja was P4 in FP1. So there's that potential that probably this could be that race weekend which can go well for him, because let's be honest, he's not doing that well from last 3-4 race weekends. So he needs a good weekend as well. This could be that race weekend where he will probably do really well. So let's see. And yeah, talking about Lawson, I think he's not finding that rhythm here, which probably we saw in Spa. So he's struggling, not close to Hajar. So probably he can find that performance and do something, because so far he's struggling this race weekend. But excited to see what Hajar can do, because there's that potential from Racing Bulls as well.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But the real surprise factor, other than Aston Martin this time around, or at least during the practice sessions, was Haas, man. They are looking racy. They are looking like they've got something to say about this track, and that would be good because we have been seeing Behrman get close to the points positions 3 or 4 races back to back now, and he's just not getting there. So it would be really nice to see him get his first set of proper big boy F1 pants here.
Yeah, man. Imagine if he gets another P11, man, after like four races in a row. I don't think that will happen. Probably he will be getting those points. I really hope, because I think he deserves that simply with the way he's has been driving from past 4-5 races now. Even if we have to give a highlight, probably Silverstone is one race where every rookie was struggling, and Ollie Bearman was able to finish that race. So I think he deserves some more credit. He deserves some more points from here. And he was doing really well, especially in FP1. So let's see. I'm excited to see what they can do. This could be that race weekend where we said that the pendulum can swing back to that part where they will score some points. Ocon is not at par with Ollie Bearman this race weekend so far, but who knows, man? He usually finds that rhythm in on a Saturday as well as Sunday. So it's too soon to say for Ocon.
But especially
But
if
I
it rains, if it rains, Ocon could find that rhythm, and it could be almost a write-off that he will find that rhythm, because historically he's been doing well, at least in this season during the wet races.
and he won his only race here, so who knows, man? He is that driver who can pull off some amazing overtakes and be at right place at right time.
Exactly.
So, but I think the biggest shock was that Red Bull is nowhere, man. Max Verstappen is struggling. He's not finding that pace, and Yuki Tsunoda had a better day compared to Verstappen, which is something we don't usually say. Verstappen was, I think, P14 in FP2. I know that won't be the case in qualifying and race, but they desperately need to find some pace and find some better setup for him, because, yeah, man, he was not happy. He was complaining after every lap.
And this is not going to inspire a lot of faith in him. I mean, again, I'm being very obtuse. Immediately after his announcement to stay at Red Bull, I'm claiming he won't be happy based off of a fucking free practice session. I know I'm being
Yeah.
obtuse, that is entirely intentional, guys, but if this trend continues, Max may come to regret his decision, and then he may invoke one of the 200 million exit clauses he has definitely included in his contract.
Yeah, I mean, Max Verstappen desperately wants to be there with McLaren's in every race weekend, because, like we discussed, he was not happy with 2024, and he needs a good car for 2026 if he really wants to stay in Red Bull. So let's see how that goes, and if Yuki Tsunoda can manage to be in Q3, I think Red Bull would be happy at Yuki's side at least, because let's be honest, he missed some crucial points in Spa.
So let's move on to the tail end of the teams, and starting with Sauber, which is, you know what, FP sessions should not be treated as any sort of evidence for Sauber, because you just don't know what might come alive in them during the quali or indeed the racing sessions. So yeah, just don't treat them with this performance with a grain of salt. The performance is a bag of salt. You do not know what's gonna happen ultimately, so it remains to be seen. Right now they're not looking particularly spicy, but man, again, quali might be Bortoletto's home ground, and if it rains, it might become Hulkenberg's home ground.
Absolutely, man. I think you have perfectly summed up what I had to say for Sauber. But the only honorable mention I have is probably Paul Aaron, who drove for Kick Sauber, but he couldn't drive that many laps. I think he drove for only 9 laps. So that was heartbreaking, because you don't get that many opportunities. And these are the opportunities that you really want to show that you deserve that place in F1 if that opportunity comes in future. So, yeah. I think Sauber will be there as always, because they are doing better from last 5-6 race weekends. But let's see, it could be that race weekend as well where they may think that probably we have to be careful and just survive the chaos if it rains, because performance doesn't look that good, in all honesty, judging by what we saw in FP1 and FP2. But who knows, when the time comes for qualifying, they will show that they are there with all the midfielders or even top teams.
Yeah, again, then it is a very sad moment for me, because I do love both the drivers of this team, but Williams, man, just continues to disappoint, and I am just not convinced that FP1 and FP2 were not indicative markers of what they're going to be like going from here. They might fix something in their setup, because of course we're not in park Fermi conditions yet. They can spend the entire night for us and day for them fiddling with the car and figuring out what works, but I'm not confident. I'm not inspired by their performance. At least they're looking very jittery and very weird.
Yeah, I think even Williams knew that this track won't suit them well. Historically, we have seen that high downforce tracks don't go in favor for them. Obviously, they did score in Monaco, but their performance is not that great historically. So even Sainz was just fighting with that car. And I don't think they have that right setup. Probably in FP3 they can come up and show that maybe we are there or thereabouts with other teams, but it was not a great FP sessions. Probably they have all the data now, and probably they can do some setup changes to be close to maybe top 10. But judging by what we saw, it's not looking that convincing at the moment.
Yeah, and same for Alpine, right? Because they're also, I mean, I'm bored already. I said the word Alpine and I'm already like 20% sleepier than I was 1 minute ago. But yeah, nothing special to talk about them. Uh,
Yeah, man. They
Strictly
are the
mediocre, if not
exactly,
worse.
man. Yeah, they are the back markers for this race weekend, and even Gasly couldn't bring some magic to show in at least FP sessions. Probably he's saving that for qualifying or race, but they are the back markers, and that's the harsh reality. And I don't think I can say much.
Yeah, and so let's wrap this discussion up with our favorite part of any of these videos, which is the predictions for quali. And you know what? Why don't you go first today?
Okay. I think this would be an interesting part. Probably I'll say that P5 would be Max Verstappen. We usually don't start like that, but I feel the performance is not there and he will struggle. I won't be surprised if he is not even in top 5, but it's Max Verstappen. We just can't count him out, man. So I think he will be there, or who knows. But P4, I think I will give credit to Lewis Hamilton based on how he performs here. So P4, I think, will be Lewis Hamilton. P3, I think Oscar Piastri. And P2, I'm going with Charles Leclerc, even though I wanted to say pole position for Charles Leclerc, but I think that's too much for him as well. So I'm going with P2 for Charles Leclerc and P1 Lando Norris. And he really needs that weekend where he just do well and bridge that gap between Oscar Piastri and himself.
You know what the surprising thing is? My top three are the exact same as yours, and I did feel like Leclerc would do better than Oscar in qualifying, but not as good as Lando will, because at a certain point his experience will not be able to catch up with his car's performance. So, yeah, P1 Lando, P2 Leclerc, P3 Oscar. P4, however, I think Max. And P5, you might like this if it comes true. I think P5 Alonso.
Okay, that's interesting. I really wanted to say that, but I don't want to jinx it just yet because let's be honest, I usually don't say good things about Aston Martin so that they can prove me wrong. But I really hope that's the case, and probably my prediction goes wrong and Aston Martin or Alonso is in top 5.
Yeah, dude. I think, see, the thing is, I wanted to include Lewis in top 5 as well, but I don't think it is necessary that his car setup will work out. So, if we hypothetically were to extend, probably Lewis does come P6 right behind Alonso, and then maybe he does overtake him into turn 1. But as things stand right now, my fifth place is with Alonso right now.
Fair enough, man, and I hope that comes out true. But that's our Hungarian GP preview. I think this track always delivers drama, and with the summer break looming, every team is desperate to head into it with momentum. So let us know your predictions in the comments. Who do you think will get pole? Who is going to be the big disappointment of this race weekend? And if you enjoyed this preview, make sure to like, subscribe if you haven't already, and join us all weekend long for live reactions and the full race review. But when the drama hits, we are waving the red flag. Goodbye.